Johnny, you are the first person I've talked to who has been an expert in both boxing and betting, and you are the cross section of those things. The perfect person to talk to about the betting bug. So I'm excited about this. And the last time we spoke from across the pond, you were snowed in, I think, a few months ago. So
I think that was the last time. Yeah, it was a really bad winter, and now it's like there's not even a spring. It went right from literally, just all this snow to it's like you're walking outside and like you're sweating like you're walking in a desert. I mean, just a gradual would be nice.
And last time as well, you were in the Mike Tyson T-shirt, which we never found out the answer to. And now
I sold that for $1. No, I'm just kidding.
I
was wearing that. Yeah, I did find the answer for that. By the way,
did you really?
The answer, yes.
Okay.
It's from a follower of mine and yours, a friend, and his name is you know him, William Field.
Brilliant.
He sent it to me, and he's a very good friend, a great guy, and he sent it to me. Just as a first of all, it's a great shirt, and I appreciated it. But I had no idea it was him, and he finally told me that he was the guy that after. And he let me, and I owe him one for this. He let me twist, and he wouldn't tell me. And I'm like going, but where did this come from? He's like, oh, I don't know.
That's so funny.
And he was the last person I thought of.
I'm glad. I'm glad it wasn't anything.
Knows that I wasn't. I always thought Tyson was a grade B fighter in a bad era, and I've always said that. But that's just my feeling. Other people disagree, but he knew that, and it was just his way of needling with me. I have a lot of fun arguments.
That's brilliant. I'm glad. I'm glad it wasn't anything more sinister, but it was just a bit of fun. So. We're trying to we're going to focus. I know the boxing is going to come up a lot in this chat, but do you remember what was your first sort of understanding when you were younger that you could actually bet on sport?
Yeah, my first understanding of that it was actually before I ever really even started betting. It was just I remember being with a friend of mine. We were about it was like over four and a half decades ago, but I was with a friend of mine, and we were just hanging out together. And he goes to me, and he was my age, but he was just a guy that knew about a little bit about horse racing. He goes, and we were riding around, just like you do when you're kids. And he goes, hey, you got $1? And I go, yeah. And I said, yeah. He said, all right. He said, let me have it. Yeah, for what? I didn't care. I mean, here you go. I said, for what? And he said, I want to stop over at this OTB. So we went to the OTB, and he put in, I didn't know what he did. I just gave him the $1.
Sorry, what's that, OTB?
Yeah, OTBs. That's what we used to have. They're few and far between anymore. There's none here. There's places to go, but there's a place to go, and then you can go to the actual tracks that will show a lot of the fights, or if you're lucky, they're running live.
Is that like on-track bookie or on-track?
Off-track betting. And
off-track betting.
That was the big thing years ago. Years ago in New York, when I grew up, you were only able to bet 9 races, and they were all coming from either Belmont Park, Aqueduct, or Saratoga. You can only bet 9 races. So, and they only had a triple in the 9th race. So, and that's all there was for a very, very long time. Then gradually they added in, and it just very gradually became, now you go into places and they get races from everywhere. And you could bet triples in every race, and it didn't used to be like that. Okay. What he did was he took the $2. We just we pulled over at an OTB, which I was like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know what it was and didn't really pay much mind. And he went in, he placed a bet. We happened to win that bet. Later on, he called up. He says, hey, listen to this. He says, and I said, yeah. He said, did they say DG? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, we won. It was an $88 bet, exact, which is nice. And it was $88. And then we picked up the money, $44 for him. He gave me $44, and we had money to go out. We bought some beer. We got some food. And I was like, oh, that's like great. But I never followed up on it after that until later on in my life when I started getting into it from places I worked and seeing people were betting it.
And so $40 back then, that's a lot of money. So what, you were like young kid, $40. I'm surprised you didn't get instantly hooked from then. But you were disciplined, patient enough to like.
I didn't know. I still didn't understand what he did, and at that age, I just wasn't. I wasn't curious, and I'm just like I just thought it was something that he just knew about somehow, and he didn't, really. I mean, to hit an exacta, you could be a genius and miss an exacta. He got it, and he only bet it straight. He bet the exacta and he hit it. But that was the first time I remember thinking, "Wow, you spent $2 and you got." I was still asking him. We got $88 back from that, and he gave me the 45. I said, "I got $44 back from." Well, that's what stood out, but I never.
My first bet. I'm a little bit younger than you. My first bet, I won £12, and I had the same feeling as a teenager. I couldn't believe I won £12. I thought that was beyond my wildest dreams. So it didn't take much for me to get hooked as a young kid.
I remember telling my dad about it. I said, hey, Lenny went into this place. I said, I gave him $1. I said, we won $40 a piece, $44 a piece. And I said he went into a place in OTB. I told my father. And my father said, I told my father would be happy. And my father said, that's the worst thing that could have happened.
Oh, no.
That's what he said to me. He was wrong. But that was the general thinking then. If you were gambled, you had to lose. And especially horse racing. Oh my God, horse racing had a reputation, that was the first.
So that was the first horse racing bet. Influential friend, okay, rather. So it was a friend in the social group rather than a family member. And since that time, I think I know the answer to this. But if you want to break it down into sports that you're strong at or weak at, would you consider yourself? And you don't have to give numbers, obviously, but an all-time winner. Or are there some sports where you're an all-time loser in?
No, I'm an all-time winner in the sports that I bet. I don't. The one sport, it's a sport I really like. I can't figure out an angle on it to get an edge. Is baseball. I'm looking into something with it, but the game has changed a great deal.
Okay.
And it's because I think pitches are very important, and now. You don't know what relief pitches are going to come in, and it's just not a sport that I trust myself with. And so as soon as I started seeing the changes, I saw it go south. I'm saying that this ain't working, so I knocked out baseball. But the sports, the best sport for me, it's my best friend, and I've been single. My mother used to say, "Lucky at gambling, unlucky at love," and. For me, the sport that has been horse racing was the number one sport for me for everything in every way, excitement and winning. It's always been horse racing. I would say after that is college basketball has been very, very profitable for me. College basketball, college football has been very profitable. NFL profitable, less so, but profitable. And boxing has been these last few years have been fantastic years for me with the boxing. With the advent of the online ability to box, I used to bet through just bookies, and your place like bets and everything. So those were like sporadic. But with the advent of online betting and the ability to do certain things now that we weren't able to do, boxing has turned out to be really, really good for me too. But I would say the two best would be horse racing is the best, college basketball, college football, boxing, and then the NFL, probably in that order. But I do keep books. I keep a lot. I keep a lot of books, and I'm ahead in all of them. I'm well ahead in a couple. I'm very happy about it.
What do you think is the difference between the college level of the football and basketball as opposed to like NFL? Why have you got a strong edge?
College basketball for me, just in general, what I like about because I like to look for I compare all these things, and I like to look for value in the bets. So being a value bettor, I think it's harder to find in professional basketball. In college basketball, and I'll give you the difference right here. Let's say there is a spread of 5. You have a favorite with a spread of 5. And in college basketball, and I have another biggie with this, but remind me of that. But in college basketball, let's say the spread's 5. You got kids that get up there, with the game on the line, if let's say it's a close game and there's a spread of 5, and they're the favorite, and they miss more foul shots. The pros are more schooled. They don't miss the foul shots. The kids, we need to remember, college. You're talking 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. They're more nervous. You could see it visibly on their face. You see more missed foul shots there. So, what I do with the college basketball is I will bet. I won't bet the very best top teams. They're too good. They're too schooled, and I think they're too likely to hold. Unless if I get one that blows it away. But I usually stick with the teams that are not as good, which is most of them. There's 368 teams. Only 68 make the tournament. There's 300 teams that are good, but they're not good enough to make the tournament. I'll tell you one other thing about that. That's interesting is, and this is my feeling. Since betting, it's not just a feeling, I know this, but since betting has become acceptable now, like online, and anybody can bet, it is much, much more easy for a college basketball player to be bought off than it is. An NFL player is not going to take the chance. They're making their money. The college kids on a team, they're not making the money. So what they do is, and I noticed from a place that I worked, well, which I'll tell you about, but it was a Mafia place, and I learned about what they did. And do you mind me saying Mafia?
Oh, yeah. Fascinating.
I'm going back, Jesus, 4 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I played piano there. And so I knew them, socialized. So anyway, I'll get into that at another point. But the thing I wanted to tell you is, here's what they do. They'll go into a team. They usually will take a team that's a large favorite. So that you get a team. That's why I will only play teams that are under 10. Like I'll play, if I see a spread of minus 9.5 or plus 9.5, those are the only college games I look at. And I'll tell you why. Because you get a college game that, let's say the spread is minus 14 on a team, and you think the team's going to cover it. Here's what they do. They send somebody in to one or two of the players on the team. Usually they'll get the big scorer, the main guard, whatever, and they'll speak to him and they'll say, look, you guys are 14-point favorites, 16-point favorites. You got this game locked. We're going to pay you $20,000. No one's going to know about it. Okay? We're going to bet on you guys not to cover the spread. We're not asking you to lose the game. You can win the game. Just make sure you don't cover the spread. So you go up there, you take your foul shot, you miss purposely, on a couple of things. You miss a ball, you let it go through your hands. You don't have to have a bad game.
So back then, you saw games where you knew this was going to happen, and you saw that unfold. You saw someone miss a.
No, but I knew of games where it was going to happen. That was at a time that they were saying that the teams weren't going to cover the spreads. I had not yet really gotten into college basketball betting, but I did take a couple of tips. They did come through.
And was it, we'll give you $20,000, do us a favor, or was it, we'll give you $20,000, if you don't do it, you get a horse's head in your bed? How much of a?
I don't think they would ever tell me that. I think they were probably. My guess is that they were probably persuasive. I don't think they do that. I think they were persuasive though, because I think in truth, it would take a lot for a college kid to turn down whatever it was. But now I'm going back 4 decades when I say 20,000.
Amazing.
So I remember that number being thrown around, literally. So they pay the guy. You pay somebody $20,000. Now, if they're ahead by 19 points, what he's got to do is make sure to miss 2 foul shots and look upset about it, and to try to do everything in his power. They understand if it's out of his power, but they will do that. They'll approach a second player too, but they'll try to get the main scorer as the main person. They don't want to make the team lose. So they're not asking anybody to throw the games, but they're asking them not to win by that certain margin. And it happens often. And this is why I do not bet the top teams. It happens with the games that are the most highly bet.
Well, so interestingly, you
mentioned
the
games that are not highly bet, you can be pretty sure they're going to be played as straight as they could be. But if you get two big games like the top teams, Alabama against Houston playing. They're very highly bet games. They're the games that that's getting there's a lot of money in on it. Those are the games that they'll go up to somebody and speak to. I can't speak for today. I'm speaking for what's happened for the year.
So back then when that was happening, like 30, 40 years ago, yeah, that's amazing. But like, even when you're talking about the college level having more nerves and there being more vulnerabilities and that's exactly what you pointed out when you did your deep dive for Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. Your approach to that was not to break down their strengths, but to compare their relative weaknesses.
Yeah, weaknesses.
And that's how you came with that great pick of Dubois to win at crazy big odds. So it was the same thing.
And I didn't know who to pick in the fight because I just didn't know which one mentally was going to hold up. So I kind of just broke it down and went with, I think these are the best bets on the circuit. I did take that bet. I wouldn't suggest the bet and not take it.
No,
but,
absolutely.
So
what I was very excited to, that's an amazing story about the Brooklyn days. But so what?
Yeah, and I imagine it's, I'm going to guess that it still happens. Basketball is a big one because it's very hard to catch. You know, a missed foul shot. How do you say to somebody you did that purposely?
Exactly.
And meanwhile, they're getting a lot of money. For a college kid, it's a lot of money. They probably have scholarships, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I don't need to persuade them, but I'm sure they wouldn't threaten. But I think that they would. I think college kids would think about taking that money. I just have to, because the big that's why they go for the big favorites. If they went for a team that was only a 5-point favorite, missed foul shots, might cost them the game. So that's why, because you don't know, the other team comes on, it's those 2 shots and you lose. Exactly. That's a bad thing. Yeah. So they don't want that. So they go for the teams that are the higher favorites. That's why I only stick with under -10 or +10.
Yeah. Okay. So, so there's a great, fascinating stories, insights. So, but what I am very excited about, Johnny, is we spoke a few weeks ago, and it still blows my mind that you placed this bet. I've known you for a couple of years. We met online over a shared interest in some of the fights that were coming up. We talk regularly. You contribute to the website. You are, the best boxing analyst I've ever met in all my years doing this. But you did a bet a few weeks ago. It's true. You did a bet, and when I saw it and you started describing it to me, I thought you just got lucky, that you were good and also lucky. And then you described it in more detail. So just tell me what that bet was, because I want to hear the background to how you landed it and what it was.
Oh God! The bet was Ben Whitaker and Liam Cameron. That's the bet. By the way, I should say this. That was, every gambler says I'm waiting for that one bet. That was actually mine. So it's all downhill from here. My life has all been building up gambling up to that was actually the best hit I ever made in my life in every way, as far as for very little money spent on it. I'll even tell you, but the bet was Ben Whitaker against Liam Cameron to end in rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and that was one bet. So I did that one on my online account on its own. And the reason why I did that was because, I'm going to say, I had $100 on it. Okay.
On just that on its own?
On my online account. And I put 50 on a parlay and I'll explain my reasons for this, but I put a 50 on a parlay that had the Ben Whitaker, Liam Cameron fight to be over 7.5 rounds at -450. But I included that in with Frazier Clark to win in round 1.
Okay.
And
so Frazier Clark was fighting on the undercard of the same bill when Whitaker and Cameron rematched a few weeks ago, and Frazier Clark was fighting that guy Tete, who just lost to Dillian White.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the guy, his name always is crazy. It's like Tete. He was. So what happened with it was I'm going to mention the prices here because it was the hit of my lifetime. So, but it was, but I did spend $100 on that bet, and I'll tell you why I did, because it seems crazy otherwise. On rounds 1 and 2 on Whitaker and Cameron, not Whitaker to win, Whitaker and Cameron to fight to end in rounds 1 and 2. The reason why I did that was They were numerous. But one of them was, I had already thought in looking at that fight that I said, Whitaker is a front runner to me, and I don't think he wants the fight to go late. And he knew Cameron was coming on because I perceived him as somewhat quitting in that first fight when he had an opportunity, because Cameron was coming on in my eyes. But that's what I perceived, and that's all. So that affected my thinking. That doesn't mean that was what was so. That's what I saw, and so that affected my thinking. So I looked at that. And I've seen him fight before Whitaker. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but when he does fight, even in the fights that he's won widely, he shows off at the beginning, the first 4 rounds, he's clowning around, he's ducking, he's doing the head, and he's dancing. But in the second half of the fight, if it goes a little longer, in the 6th or 7th round, even if he's winning, suddenly he's not clowning anymore. And that was the first sign to me that, why is the clowning stopping? You know? It seems to be stopping as it's going later. Now, he won. Cameron... And I suspected maybe he's getting more serious now. Maybe he's a little out of gas, the clowning, maybe took some out of. Then Cameron, I thought, exposed him as being a bit of a front runner that fight. No matter how somebody feels about the result, Cameron was coming on in that fight. And I think Cameron was going to win that fight, possibly by knockout. I don't think, so my thought was, I was seeing everybody on Twitter betting Ben Whitaker by decision. That was what everybody was picking. And my first thing was, to be very honest, it's like when I see everybody picking the exact same thing, and I see the odds not moving, on the odd lines, well, I just said everybody is not going to be right on something that's like minus 200.
So just to validate that, I'm going to chip in to validate what you're saying. I was of the opinion at that time that I would never see Ben Whitaker score a stoppage in his career, let alone an early stoppage. So just for people who aren't familiar with boxing, just they know that I do the boxing stuff for our website. So everyone was picking either the upset, Cameron to win, or a decision. I didn't hear a single person picking Whitaker by stoppage, and let alone early stoppage. So
well, yeah, I didn't pick Whitaker. I picked the fight in rounds 1 and 2.
True.
I also thought there was a chance of Cameron.
Sure.
I'll explain why I thought that. Then I'll give you the main thing that sealed it for me and really said it made me excited about it. Believe it or not. This is before I keep notebooks on referees, notebooks on judges, notebooks on fighters to watch out for. Fighters I think will lose the next fight if they face a certain style fighter. And they're like reminders, or sometimes I give myself orders. Like, I literally write this in the book. Ignore what you're thinking now. Yeah. Follow this. Wow. I swear to you, I write that down. Yeah. And I'll listen to the book. Because sometimes you can they called it in horse racing, one guy called it the logic of illogic. Sometimes if you use too much logic, you can get yourself away from something that wins. Sometimes you can use too much logic. Okay. So in the case of this, Ben Whitaker was a guy that I thought, okay, I think, and he was with the new trainer. I can't think of his name. Is it who was it? It's a trainer that's a punch. I think it's
Andy Lee. Andy Lee. Yeah. Thank
you. He was with Andy Lee, who is a very good trainer, and was really a puncher. And he was with Andy Lee. That's my phone. I'm going to ignore it. They're trying to sell me something or tell me they're telling me I just want a trip to Hawaii, all expenses paid. And I'm supposed to get all excited and go through that and everything. I should have turned that off. I didn't think about it and everything. But I should pick up the call and just let you guys hear it. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. So I had all these notebooks with all these different things written down that I followed. So in the case of Ben Whitaker, I figured my guess is if Andy Lee, puncher, trainer, he's probably going to want Ben Whitaker to pace himself somewhat. I said, and to try to be a little more aggressive, and he's probably going to want him to do that early because he's a front runner so far from what I think we've all seen. Maybe someone will disagree, but I think he's a front runner, and I think he weakens later in the fight, even in the shorter fights that he's had. He hasn't gone 12. So that's what I saw. So I said, I think he's going to feel it out. And then I look at Cameron, it comes on late but starts slow. And I felt his corner was going to think the opposite. This is how I broke it down. And I thought like his corner was going to say, you know what? Don't start slow. Start faster this time. You want to get the rounds under your belt. So start faster. And they probably told Whitaker to pace himself so he could last. So I saw a possibility of a couple of things happening early. That's the way I thought. And then I thought to myself, Andy Lee probably is going to want this fight to end as soon as possible. And I said, I could see an early stoppage here. Now, if it had been 12 rounds, I would have bet rounds 1 through 3. But it wasn't a 12-round fight. It was 10.
It was 12 rounds.
No, it was, I believe that they had shortened it to 10 at the end. They had gone from 10 to 12 to 10.
Did they?
Yeah, because that was the only bet that was offered. Yeah,
okay.
They had changed it to 12, and then it was shortened back to 10.
I thought they ended up with 12.
No, you got to check it. Yeah, it was a 10-rounder.
Okay.
And because I bet the fight. Even if they change, but I'm pretty sure it was a 10-rounder because I bet it over 7.5. You know.
Okay.
But anyway, the way the thing went was the thing that sealed it for me was when I looked in my book, and I went through it. I didn't have anything on Ben Whitaker or the other Cameron, but I had already thought it was going to be an early stoppage. That was what I thought. Either that, or I figured if it got past that, it might be something that might go to decision. And as I remember, it was changed down to 10. And they started at 10, they had made it 12, and then they lowered it to 10.
Okay.
That was the way the fight was. What happened was I went to my book and I looked over referees. Howard Foster, and I had his name worst of all. Bet early stoppages in his fight if there is a major A side. Go very early if there is a major A side that is being supported. I had written next to Howard. I had him for a couple of fights. Groves and Frotch was one that one that we had discussed that you had mentioned. But when I saw that he also was the referee for the Daniel Dubois Kevin Lavina fight, which I thought was the most crooked refereeing job I might have ever seen in my life, with Dubois taking the knee 3 times after getting knocked down in the first round, the bell ringing early, and in the third round, the round ends, but Dubois landed just a few punches. He rattled the guy, but the round was over, and the referee stopped it after the round was over. After the bell, he stopped it, and this guy was walking to his corner. He had a minute. I said, bet Howard. So when I saw Howard Foster, early stoppage in favor of the A side, there's no bigger. One of the biggest A sides right now is they want Ben Whitaker. They want Ben Whitaker to go far. And Ben Whitaker is not going to. I'm not saying he's not going to go far, but he hasn't done it yet. So my point is that when I saw that Howard Foster thing, it screamed at me. Early stoppage, he will favor the A side. I thought of Andy Lee, probably telling him to try to get him to be a little more aggressive so it doesn't go too late. I thought of Cameron. And so anyway, adding all that up, and then particularly having it in my notebook with the referee, I said, worst of all, early stoppage. Bet very early if there is a major A side. I went rounds 1 and 2. I didn't even waver. Rounds 1 and 2, I did not waver. So I took that, and it was 20-1, and I took that for $100 online. Because I'll only let online, the only way I'll do that is I'll get myself, I already withdrew it. I don't let myself go over a certain amount online because I just don't allow it to. I just try to withdraw. It's the only, it's an overseas account. I usually make all my bets at the casino. But for this one, I took that right away. And then I took a parlay. I said, if he doesn't get him very early, the fight could go on. And I think Howard Foster will stop it late. He's not going to let it go to the decision. And it was 7.5 out of 10 rounds. And Howard Foster, I said, is going to stop that fight late. And but I don't think he's going to let it go to the cards, particularly if Cameron's coming on. So I just felt, after reading what I had written in the book from previous fights, there was another couple of fights I can't recall right now. I felt Howard Foster's going to stop the fight early. He's an A-side thing. He's training with Andy Lee. He's probably going to tell him to try to pack a punch. Cameron might try to start earlier than he's ready for, than he's usually for. I didn't even think of anything else but rounds 1 and 2. I figured, so help me, I just figured sink or swim. And the reason why I'm excited talking about this is because this was a bet that I've waited for a very long time. So I had that in the bank online, and then I took Frazier Clark in round 1 with that fight to go over 7.5 rounds at minus 450, instead of taking the decision at 10 rounds, the decision. And I was willing to take that slight loss. And then I got, I took a third fighter at my minus 200. I took a parlay. It was a nice paying parlay because I had Clark in there at plus 700 for round 1. The parlay did not hit, obviously, because I got the Whitaker thing. So I did bet against myself in case I was wrong there with Frazier Clark.
So you've got these. So because there's a lot of bets going on here that are sort of contradicting each other. You're taking it to go over. So you've got these hedges that if the fights aren't ending soon early, you've got the overs as well. It's like
So the bet that I made,
insurance bets. But like to summarize what was the bet that really hit.
Well, I was just saying, yeah, I was explaining with the one I did there. That was, it wasn't really a conflicting bet. It was a bet that just in case it went long, I felt that it was going to get stopped. I didn't think it was going to go to decision. I didn't think Foster would let it if it went. So I had that bet. That didn't come in, obviously, because I got the Whitaker bet. But that was $100 at 20 to 1. You know, I mean, it was you know, but the best bet was I left that day after, because, and this is what made me leave. The reason why I bet Frazier Clark in round 1 was his opponent. So I had 2 reasons. I've never had this before with the books. 2 things here and 2 feelings I had about it being like a stoppage. And in the case of Frazier Clark, it was his opponent to, what was his name again?
Tete.
And but I had listed in my book on fighters, I said, bet this guy to get knocked down in round 1. So help me. This is what I've written down. Bet him to get knocked out in round 1. This was after seeing his fight with Dylan White. He looked awful. He made White look like he was still in his prime.
Yeah.
White stopped him. He did, you know, after like I think 7 rounds. I thought he looked awful. I said, bet this guy to get stopped in round 1. If he faces a very talented boxer, puncher, I said, or if he faces a puncher who is of equal talent or experience, I was going to bet round 1. And I saw Frazier Clark, and I said, this guy's perfect. And I thought to myself, if I didn't think, I said, there might be something left over from the knockout from Wardley, but if there isn't, they're probably going to want this guy to start early to build his confidence and get the guy out of there. I said, and this guy is tailor-made, but what sealed it for me, it's funny how Dubois was involved in both of these. The referee from the first fight, the Whitaker Cameron fight, that referee was a referee for early stoppages, but keep in mind, he had refereed the Dubois-Larena fight, which was the worst refereeing job I can recall. Yeah. And that sealed that fight for me. And in the second fight, it was Dubois had knocked that guy, Tete, out in round 1. And I said, if Dubois can knock him out in round 1, and that's one of the reasons I wrote it down, because I saw him against White. I said, this guy's done, and he's got a good record. They might try to sell him again. You know, he only had 2 losses. I said, when I saw him against Dylan White, I said, this guy's ready to go against anybody decent, because White's washed, in my opinion. And so when I saw bet him in round 1, and I had exclamation point, it was an order to myself. I know this sounds crazy, but this is what I do with the books that I get. So I had this order for myself to bet this in round 1, and I had this judge to bet him to stop the fights very, very early in favor of the A side, particularly if there's a doubt, you know. So I was like, I got to do this parlay. I'm going to take rounds 1 and 2. And I was not going to do it online because the parlay paid 208 to 1. 208 to 1. I ain't putting that online because I had already made the other bet. And I was not going to do it online because that I knew if I hit it and I bet what I wanted to bet on it, there was going to be a problem. Because I always keep the bets. It's not how much I bet online. It's how much I'm going to win that I stay conscious of online that I don't want to go over. And then I draw as soon as I get close.
So first of all, that Fraser Clark fight as well. He was, like you mentioned, he's coming off a horrific first round defeat to Fabio Wardley. Again, the consensus was this fight's going to go long, but no. You look at your book. You don't argue with history. You're getting orders from a previous lifetime to oppose this guy Tete. So the parlay was that paid 208 to 1. The parlay was
Ben Whitaker and Cameron fight to end in the first 1 or 2 rounds. Either one of them.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure it was going to be Whitaker
and
it ended in round 1 or 2. And I got it at 21 to 1 at the casino. And then I got plus 850 at the casino on Fraser to end in round 1.
Yeah, so I'm going to do it then. So the parlay was that paid 208 to 1, Whitaker Cameron to end in 2 rounds, and Fraser Clark to win in the first round.
Yep.
That was the parlay. 208 to 1.
Yep.
Do you mind saying what your stake was on a bet like that?
Yes, I put $100 on it.
You put $100 on that one.
$100, and I put them in, and I'll tell you what I did. It's going to sound crazy, but I put them in $5 bets. I put them in $25 bets with different people there. I drove up there. I felt nervous. It was the strangest ESP feeling, but I felt nervous driving there. And when I I'm still getting excited again talking about it because but I drove up there. And I was like, I felt like I was almost speeding a little bit when I was driving, like I was driving fast. And then when I got there, I felt like I'm not going to be able to get up and something's going to happen. I mean, the bet was far away. It was early. And it was early enough. And the first thing I did was I went there and I made like a few $5 bets. And I knew I wanted to make 20 so I got I went up to the cashier, $25 bills for $100. I got them and I put them in all $5 bets. And I'll tell you why. Because each $5 bet paid $1,000, I think it was $1,040 plus my 5 back. Yeah. And the thing is that's okay on a $5 ticket. But if I had put in $100 and gotten $20,900 back, which is just what I got, like under 21,000, but that's what I got on a $100 bet.
That's
and
great.
The thing was, if I had gone in there and said, "Give me $100 on this," and it paid close to $21,000, that bet, what would have happened was somebody would have spoken to me. Yeah. I just know, even at the casinos, somebody would have gotten called over and said, "Well, somebody would have had to come over." I don't even know if the tax, I know $5 you save, but I had to bet 20 tickets and I had to go up to different tellers and spend time there to get the bets.
But even the fact that you sort of thought that through about, I'm not going to do it in $100 stake. I'm going to do it. It's almost like you kind of knew it was going to win. And like you thought about the admin of collecting.
Yeah, it's not like I just can't explain it. I had an ESP feeling because I was nervous about it. I was nervous driving there. I was nervous walking in to place it. I felt like I was excited about it, which I can't explain it. It was, maybe it's gambler intuition. I've had it a couple of times. It doesn't work. You're like, oh man, I felt so. No, the bet, on paper, to bet one fight rounds 1 and 2 and the other fight round 1, it looks like you must be the luckiest guy in the world. But I literally, honestly, had solid reasons that convinced me enough to take a 15-minute drive to make a $100 bet that I didn't have to make.
That's exactly what I said. It's like it sounds like it was just a great lucky bet, but when you think about the analysis that you put into it, and I think you had a good.
Both of them to have both. I've never had it before. I'm sure I'll never have it again. But to have both the Fraser Clark's opponent listed in this book, and to have like the referee of this fight listed in this book, and they kind of matched my feelings.
So when you told me about it, the first thing you said to me is, no, I said to you, if you had told me about that, I would have given it. I would have ignored it. And then I said, why did you do it? And then when you explained your reasons, I was like, I would not have ignored it. So
that's why I would never have mentioned to anybody. If I had written it for your side, or if we had interviewed about it, I would never have said, here's a bet I think you should make because of my books. But books are my books, and they could have been wrong. Yeah. I mean, if one, keep in mind, if Fraser Clark went to round 2, I don't get any of that.
So,
You know?
I mean, I don't know anyone else who's ever logged a 200-1 winner, pretty much in anything, let alone boxing, which is incredible. Yeah, so just
It was like
unbelievable.
an ESP. It was just, it was a feeling. And, you know, I had to put the bets in separately. I went up to different guys to put in
Yeah,
5 year, 5 year, wait for the guy, wait, you know, and the shift. And I'll tell you something else funny, just an additional thing. But I did that, and I actually tried get the stream on my phone to try to watch. I've never normally I bet the day I come back and watch it. This day I stayed. I actually was there, and I got the stream on my phone of the fight, um, and it was a horrible stream. I mean, it's stopping, it's buffering, and I'm like going, but I could see the fight got stopped, and then the first was clock, and then I was like, oh my god, if this next one, and then to be honest, I thought it was an early stoppage, but
yeah.
I thought Cameron should not have been stopped. I thought it was an early stoppage, but to be very honest with you, that's why I bet it, because Howard lost the referee in the early stoppage.
So the fact that it was like a controversially early stoppage makes it even better, because you were right about that, rather than it being, that's exactly what you bet.
The referee sealed the deal for me. To have the referee in both of these, but he really sealed the deal for me.
It's and also the fact that most people, when you're having a crazy long shot like that, most people will have a couple of quid, a couple of dollars, but you actually said, no, I'm gonna have a decent bet on this. Like that's a huge amount of money to win it's crazy. It
was a feeling that came. When I first made the bet there, I thought about taking it after I had bet that bet, but I had already made up my mind. I said, I'm going to bet this here, and then I'm going to go there and make this, because I didn't want to have to, go through the thing with the Whitaker bet too. I didn't want to go in there and make all those. The Whitaker bet wouldn't have been as big a deal, but it still would have been 20 is a lot of $5 tickets to put in. And I went and collected them. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I went and collected them over a 3-day period. I went back there. I sat. I played on the quarter poker machine a little while. I'd collect from one person, and I got like 6 tickets one day, 7 the other day, 6 the next day, and I left. Nobody knows about it there, and that was what I did. But that was like I said, this was the high point of my betting life. Everybody has their high point. Mine just happened to happen with that fight a couple of years ago. I'm never going to get that again. 208-1 I'll never get it again.
I don't think anything. I can't even think of anything that comes remotely close to that. Like, of everyone I know in betting.
I mean, in truth, I mean, I'm if I don't bet for the rest of the year, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. I mean, because things were going pretty well anyway.
I know. I know you've had an incredible 18 months with the boxing. So, okay, so that's incredible. And
but yeah, that was. I just got. I know I'm probably talking. I just got excited talking about it. But can you imagine sitting there with that phone? You're trying to get a stream up, and the thing, and the phone's freezing, and you're pressing the buttons there, and then I had to go out. I had to walk out to try to go, because it's not on the screens there. I had to walk outside to try to get the reception. Then I'm standing outside to try to see it, and I'm getting a little bit, and it's freezing. It was awful.
Do you know what? It's all due to your lucky Mike Tyson shirt. You better send William send him a Pink Floyd shirt in return or something.
Yeah, I got that. I'll send him my Pink Floyd tapestry here. That's funny. But that was the highlight of my betting life. So to ask about it, it's funny. Everybody has a highlight. Mine happened. 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and it's fresh in the mind, and you've obviously.
I got excited talking about it.
It's amazing.
I have to come back down to reality, but yeah,
I want to bring you back down to.
I never even mentioned online. I don't like to post anything online. Oh, no. I just think, we're talking here. I know that people that are watching this are bettors, so I feel free. I'm freer to talk here, but like online, I like to just, I don't even post the tickets usually. But that was the bet of my lifetime. I at least wanted to post the bet.
Johnny, good people will be very pleased for you that it's on them if they're negative about you having success like that. So let's bring you down to earth. And what is the one bet?
I hate Earth.
Well, you've ever felt ashamed of your decision making or analysis?
I remember exactly what I spent on it, and I remember it just being because it wasn't. I didn't really look at it closely. I was just betting against somebody on what boiled down to a feeling. And again, it's funny how his name keeps popping up, Daniel Dubois. Look, this you should call this the Daniel Dubois hour. But for me, it was Daniel Dubois against Trevor Bryan. I bet Trevor Bryan to win, and I bet him heavy. I bet $750. That was my second largest boxing bet that I've made. I bet $750 on him to win. The only other one was the highest I've ever gone was the one other fight was Fury Usyk, the first one, which you know how the way I got that one, which was an odd way to hit that, but I bet that was 1,000. That was 750, which was Daniel Dubois. And normally I'm like 500. I stay around 5 or a little bit low. But anyway, the point is, nobody wants to know my life story. But what you were saying about what you were just saying about that, it was Daniel Dubois against Trevor Bryan. I saw Daniel Dubois fight Joe Joyce. This is before his fight with Lorena. I wish he did what he did in his fight with Lorena against Bryan, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But after the Joe Joyce fight, I looked at him and I said, Trevor Bryan's never lost. I watched him a couple of times. I didn't see anything special in him. And I had no reason to believe he could beat the Daniel Dubois that I thought that Daniel Dubois was before he fought Joe Joyce.
Yeah.
Before he fought Joe Joyce, I thought very highly of Daniel Dubois. After it, I thought he's a quitter. He should have tried, I know they said he broke his orbital bone, but we've seen him take knees since. I really wonder. But at that time, I thought Daniel Dubois was a quitter, and I didn't want to bet him. So what I basically did was I spent $750 because if Daniel Dubois quit against Joe Joyce, I think he'll quit against this guy, and I put $750 on that. That was not a good bet because I didn't have anything on Trevor Bryan. I wasn't impressed with him.
Yeah,
I thought Dubois was better. I thought Dubois had more talent than Trevor Bryan did, but that was a very bad bet.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my second biggest boxing bet ever, $750, and I lost it. And he was paying like 8-1.
Right. Well. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, what about? Do you have a bet where you think, why didn't I bet more? That stands out in your mind. I mean, what about that Usyk fought? I mean, I think you broke that down brilliantly the first time they fought. What was your strategy there?
That one I actually did. That one was the one I went for 1,000 on. And what I did for that fight was based on what I thought was going to be. I felt that the fight was going to go to distance. I wasn't sure it'd win. I was leaning Usyk about 60-40 at that time. I wasn't sure it'd win. So I made a really odd bet, but I divvied it up into about approximately $200 a bet, 5 bets.
Okay.
But what I did was, and again, this is a nonsensical bet, but what I was looking for was odds of like over plus 2-1, and I got over plus 2-1. A little over plus 2-1 on the bets. And I bet 200 on Usyk by majority decision, 200 on Fury by majority decision, 200 on Usyk by split decision, 200 on Fury by split decision, and the draw. And I had it spread out with just about 200 on each one in different ways, a little more on some, a little less on others. And I went for that. And I hit that bet. I felt a little guilty because in my heart, I know that should have been a 9th round knockout. So in that sense, I felt like I didn't really. I was happy to collect the money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's over 2-1 on $1,000. I was happy about that. But especially when the fight went the distance, I'm like, make it a majority. I just felt like if that fight did go to distance, which was what I originally felt. I felt if it did go to distance, I thought that there was no way it was going to be unanimous. Yeah. I thought it would be. First of all, I thought it should have been unanimous. I thought Usyk clearly won. Yeah. But I just knew that there was going to be one guy. I just knew there'd be some controversy. One guy. That's why I covered all 4. If it had been unanimous, I would have lost. Yeah. I don't know. That's a bet that I took a shot on. I took a shot on. Call it boxing politics in that one. Yeah. But I believe that the 3 judges were going to be, I didn't think they were all going to be in agreement. I didn't make the bet in Usyk Fury 2.
Yeah.
I didn't make that same bet.
No.
Could have made the same bet. I didn't make the same bet of
Right.
Usyk Fury 2.
No, that
was Usyk, because I expected Usyk Fury 2. Usyk would either knock him out or Usyk was going to, they were going to give him the unanimous decision. Decision that he deserved the first time.
Well, that first fight, like finding 2-1 odds as value in that fight was incredibly hard to do, but that 5-way Dutch did it. And we put that on the website to
I remember.
Yeah, and that was because of you. And and you can level your stakes out in such a way that even the draw at 18-1, you can stake so you get exactly 2-1, whatever the outcome.
And your side has a way. Your side can break that down. Your
calculates it,
perfectly to exactly what you could put on each one. And I used that. There was a couple that I had a feeling on that I just changed a little bit, around and everything. And but I did it in a way that I was definitely getting, no matter what happened, I was getting 2-1. So that's like $3,000 and a little extra. But that was the only way I thought to bet that fight that I felt comfortable, because I wasn't comfortable enough with anything in that. But I'll tell you, the truth was, you picked Usyk between round 9 and 12.
Yeah,
that was the correct bet.
Yes,
he got that knockdown. He got that knockout.
It's a funny one. We talk about like process versus outcome, and I think that's a great fight example for the process that you thought through to get that 5-way Dutch and to win. The process I thought to go, I think Usyk's going to stop him in the final 3 rounds, and I was really confident with that. And I kind of feel that we were both right, although you won and I lost. I'm perfectly happy with my process, even though I didn't win.
Yeah, in a way, because I felt like when I saw that, I was actually up wanting to see this is how much of a boxing fan I am. I did want to see Usyk prove that he was better than Fury. Yeah. And so I also knew that you had made a bet, and I was up. So help me God, I was actually at that moment, I wasn't thinking of that. I just started rooting for the decision. Yeah. For the knockout round. Yeah. I wanted to see Fury lose that fight because he deserved to.
As soon as that 9th round happened, it was the 8th round was a turning point. That 9th round, I was like, okay, it doesn't matter that the referee's kind of given Fury a little bit of leeway here, but he's going to get him in the next 2 rounds. But he didn't. So I think on balance, you deserved to get your.
Well, the only thing I'll give myself in that is that I expected that there'd be enough politics in the decision that they were not going to give it to who I felt was the clear winner, which was Usyk. I just felt that one guy was going to try, and sure enough. And that's the only thing. But it should have been a knockout. But I wouldn't have changed my thought on the bet. I thought I was pretty happy with the bet because it was the only thing I could come up with at value. I put a lot of money on it. But it turned out to be good. But I would have lived with it otherwise.
But also, the power of recovery of Fury was extraordinary as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fair play. So we like to talk about the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor fight a few years, probably about 10 years ago now. It's often said it's like the once in a lifetime betting opportunity. Did you get involved with that back then, or has there been anything similar that you've sort of experienced?
Yeah, but not bad. But I think this is pretty much what most people would compare it to is the absolute circus, the fiasco, the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, my T-shirt guy, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. Yeah. For me, I didn't trust that fight was going to be on the up and up. I thought there was an arrangement or there was something. There was no way Mike Tyson was possibly going to win that fight. Yeah. They couldn't have it happen. Because Mike Tyson wasn't going to continue to box, but they were going to have Mike Tyson come out of it and look good. And, his fans were all like, you see, Tyson's holding back on his punch. Paul would have been out cold here, but Jake Paul told him not to knock him out. And that's Tyson fans. That's what they saw. Yeah. What I saw was a fight where there was an agreement between both guys because there were opportunities there for Jake Paul to have starched him, and he didn't. Yeah. And Jake Paul, I think nothing of Jake Paul as a fighter. He's a YouTuber. But he could have starched him there because he knows the fundamentals. Yeah. And Tyson had a couple of moments where, these guys were pausing. Look, Tyson could have landed his punch, but he didn't throw it. They had an agreement, in my opinion, before that fight. That fight was not an up-on-up fight. You watch that fight. It was horrible. It doesn't even look, even Jake Paul, they were not trying to hurt each other. And they had to go to distance. I mean, you had the thing nailed perfectly in your column.
There's so many ways you can come to a gentleman's agreement without actually having lawyers sit around the table and draw up a contract and say, here's the script. You know what I mean? Jake Paul could have a conversation with Mike Tyson that lasted 30 seconds before they said, I give you 20. It can be a little wink. I give you 20. Like, literally, that's done. Understood. We know our roles. And Mike Tyson at 58, who's just coming off like horrific illness 6 months earlier, Jake Paul's not going to risk hurting that old man. And Mike Tyson's not going to risk going at anything like full pace because he's only got like 30 seconds cardio in him.
Yeah. That's what those clips of him. I mean, everybody forgets. They see these clips. First of all, they're edited together. Second of all, they're showing you like really fast, 10 seconds. All right, we'll edit something else. They do really good job. But the fact is, it's 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
30 seconds of the guy, and all his fans are like, he's Mike Tyson. He wasn't Mike Tyson again. Yeah. He was never Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was never Mike Tyson. I mean, but that's my opinion. But anyway, at this particular age, it was a ludicrous. So that I would compare it to Mayweather McGregor. Both fights with Mayweather McGregor, I absolutely thought that fight was going to be fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think of it. I thought it was going to be. I didn't think Floyd needed it to be fixed to win.
Yeah.
I just thought that they had some kind of an agreement there. I didn't want to take a chance on it. Yeah. But yeah, that as far as somebody that would take a chance on it, that and the Jake Paul Tyson fight now. You recognized them both at the time, and you capitalized on them. I stayed away because I didn't trust them, but I did. I did not know what result they were going to come up with, but I didn't trust either result.
A lot of people I respect were saying, "Stay clear of it, stay clear of it," and I was like, "No, I'm not staying clear of it." Like the dodgy element is factored into the price that you can back Jake Paul at 2-1 on is extraordinary. He should be 20-1 on. So, with all the factors. Yeah. So, okay, do you, so something like over here in England, we often have,
I agree with you. I just want to say, I agree with you 100% on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I was just thinking about it. It's like, absolutely.
Yeah. In a real fight, Jake Paul, he's got his limitations, but he's a 28-year-old, 215-pound professional boxer fighting a 60-year-old. It's not a contest. Yes. Whoever the 60-year-old is.
I agree.
So, England football fans over here, we often have to put up with the fact that it's sometimes good value to oppose the team we're supporting. So, do you ever feel the same way? Do you ever have bets that are against a fighter that you want to win, or a team that you're actually supporting?
A lot of times it happens in with in college basketball, not so much in horse racing. Back when I bet baseball, baseball did not work out. I find it just an impossible. There's so many changes. But when I was betting it, and it was not, the baseball did not serve me, and so I was only a few years that I tried it. But I was losing on baseball. I said I can't. It's too difficult. This is fairly recent. Excuse me, I was shaking the table. But my favorite team is the New York Yankees by far. But there were a couple of games that I was just absolutely certain that they were going to lose at a big price, and I did put them in to lose. Look, you get it two ways that way. If you either win money or your favorite team wins, and so it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I will bet against them but it's got to look really strong. If I'm in the middle, I'm not betting against them. But if I just think, oh God, they're losing this game, I know this pitcher is due for a bad game. I know this, and I can see like because Yankees are almost always favorites in the games. So see if I think they're going to lose it, I'll take the other team. I prefer not to, but sometimes. You just do it and you go, look, it's not going to change the result of the game. Either I'm going to win money or lose. And if the Yankees win, that's great. And I lost money, but I will do that.
It's going to be interesting over the next.
I don't like it.
I know. I think I'm right in saying you're a massive Alexander Usyk fan, and there could be a time coming up in the next few years where you might be forced to oppose him in the betting. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if that does occur.
Yeah. If he faces somebody, I would have to bet against him.
Yeah.
If it's something I feel really, really strongly about, because he's past your magic age from like your article.
38.
A great article, 38-year-old rule.
Yeah.
It's a great article. It really
I think
goes through 99% of the time.
Exactly. And I think he is an exception. I think, he's probably all right for at least 2025, maybe 2026. We'll see. So,
but I would, yeah.
If you could ask a better one question that would reveal to you how much they really understand about betting, what would that question be?
Well, one question it wouldn't be is what did you invest in this? Because I think a person that invests $1, if a person starts the year off with like $50 or $100 and ends the year with like $800, that's a good better. He's betting within his means, and then I prefer that over somebody that starts the year off with 80,000 and wins 1,000. If the guy so. That's one question I wouldn't ask. You asked what I would ask. I would probably ask what he bet. What sports does he bet?
Yeah.
And that would be one thing. Because in America, you could ask somebody something like, what sports book do you use, and things like, and you could feel them out on that. But in general, I would probably ask the person, what sports? What do you bet? Yeah. If the person gives me certain answers, to be very honest with you, and this may upset a friend of mine if he's watching, but if a person answers sports like college football, college basketball, even basketball for people, even baseball for people, sports betting can be beaten in my mind. I don't know I can't figure out a way for baseball. I'm sure it can be beaten. I know it can. Horse racing. But when they and even what do you call it? Poker, blackjack. Okay, okay, cool. But if they bet, they say, "Well, I play slots," or if they say that they play games of chance, like roulette, which is the greatest fish hook for really naive, not just amateurs, but naive amateurs. Yeah. Everybody thinks they've figured out a breakthrough system. They're sure they have. They'll tell you they're ahead. And I have a couple of close friends, one particular one that I would love to see him just try for something that can be beaten. You're not going to beat roulette. Yeah. Those are games of chance. It's like a game of chance. I don't like games of chance at all.
I think everyone who's got into betting has thought about beating the roulette wheel and doing the martingale strategy.
But everybody, it's an easy thing to try to come up with systems.
Yeah, I can double my stake. Yeah, but it doesn't take long to realize. Oh no, that's not going to work. They have maximum stakes for a limit, and you haven't got an infinite bank, and you can get 15 reds in a row. It's not that unusual as much as people think it is.
And all these systems, martingale. The only way martingale works is if you're a multimillionaire and you could just keep doubling. Eventually, you're going to win a very small amount.
Yeah, but
it's a silly system. I don't like any of that. Kelly, arbitrage. I don't. I just use I use the horse race money from my horse racing books, horse racing money management, and I just go according to what I feel on the particular day. Yeah. Like I only with that bet, the bet of my lifetime. I talked about that was only $250 I spent that day.
Yeah,
it wasn't even. It wasn't a really big spending. But when I drive there, I normally spend usually $400 or $500 if I'm going to bet it.
Yeah. But what would you give your sort of younger self when you're with your friend and he's off placing the bet at the OTBs on the racing? What piece of advice would you have given yourself back then about what you know now in betting?
I think one of the things back then was that you want to you have to learn how to lose, and especially in horse racing where you lose by this much or there's a disqualification and your horse wins, there's a steward's inquiry and you're sweating it out. I think you have to learn how to take the losses, handle the losses, because the first 5 years I bet, I said I had all winning years, but I lost my first 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I didn't fully understand something. I ordered all those. Excuse me. I ordered all those horse racing books, I remember sending you a video of them.
Yeah.
I remember that you called them my library, but I have like 60 horse racing books. I've read all of them, and I learned about it during that time, and not just all 60 during that period, but I've bought them over the years, and they help refine and refine. But what I would give myself is not to. I was very controlled until I hit my first triple, and when I hit my first triple, I had half of the triple for almost $4,000. It was just a little under $4,000, but it was a $12 bet. It was going to be $6, and I was sitting there and I wrote it out. I had my 2 long shots that I had figured out because their forms were darkened, which that's what I found out from the Mafia place, how they darken forms, horses' forms. Their forms were darkened, I thought, and I said, and they looked, if they ran their best, they looked like they could beat the other horses. And I had it with a third horse, and I had written on my ticket, I was going up to the OTB, $6. That's all I bet on the triple. And I bet a couple of exactas, about $10 a day. That was it. Back then, I'm going back to in my just about beginning of my 30s, a long time ago. And I'm going up there to put in my bet. And I head in there, and the guy goes, kid comes up to me, goes, "What do you have?" And I said, I took, these 2 long shots, this, and I gave him the 3. It was 2 long shots, and I think it was the third favorite. I said, this is what I'm taking for the triple. He said, "Oh, you got to put Mr. J," and I still remember the name of the horse. "You got to put Mr. JV in there. You got to put Mr. JV in there." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, he's a great horse. He's a mutter too." He says, "You got to have him in there." He said, "Put him in there." And so I said, "Well, all right." And I just didn't, I went up there, put in that bet. But then I got back there and I said, "You know what?" I took my 2 long shots. I put in Mr. JV, which was not my pick of my horse. I went up there with that $6 ticket. That was my first triple. I hit it with this guy. That's what I mean about ESP. This guy came up to me out of nowhere. Never met him.
Wow.
He told me, "You got to put this guy in," and that's how I hit that. It was almost 4,000 because the triple paid almost 8,000 because you got like 28 to 1, 26 to 1, and Mr. JV was like 2 to 1, and he was third. And so, he just came up to me out of nowhere. Never spoke to me before about this, and he said, "You got to do this." And I did it, and that worked out. But once I hit that, then my bets started going up immediately. The next time I went in, then I was like making $24 triple parlays, but only for $1. 4 horses triple box for $1. It's $24. I was starting to do them, so now I'm up to 24. So what happened was, when I say I was losing, I wasn't like losing. I wasn't like on the street, selling Mike Tyson T-shirts. But you know what I mean. But I was behind at that point. Those first years, I wasn't keeping track of stuff. Yeah. But during that time, I was reading a lot and working in the place I worked. I found out how they darken horses' forms to make them look terrible. You could see a horse that is horrible, but if you know how to read into the things and look at his past and trainer, and there's so many signs. It's not hard to pick. They all come in almost all of them come in for a reason. I'd say 80. Sometimes you just get those strays that just run a race that you don't expect. Yeah. But I would say 80 to 90%, there's a reason. You could see that the horse's form is darkened. Yeah. I used to always collect the racing forms and look at them and see what could they have done with this horse and the trainers' names. I'm OCD like that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, superpower. Okay. So I know you've experienced some of it. Yeah. I know you've experienced with the sharp betting website, and often when I've asked this question, the answer is actually your boxing content and analysis on our website. But is there anything you've seen on the website apart from your own content that you particularly enjoyed, or is there anything you'd like us to add to the website?
I love so much. I really honestly can't say. I love so much about the website. I think in regards to first of all, I use the Sharp Monthly.
Yep.
The Sharp Monthly. Yep. I've been using it. I'm doing very, very well on it. I mean, I'm starting very low. I'm betting very low on it, but I'm doing very, very well on it. And I'm going to build and figure out how I'm going to do this, because it's going to take a lot of rides to the casino, because I'm not going to. But I can honestly say that's a system that anybody that doesn't try. I mean, you couldn't be more upfront about it. You take DMs. I
Yeah.
love that. You take DMs and you give people, if you don't want to continue, okay, don't continue.
Well, we
And
do.
if you want to stay on, try it out. I would encourage people to stay on and tell them if they don't think, tell them to blame me, okay? Because I guarantee, I'm just telling you that if you're a gambler, you know that there's going to be variances.
Yeah.
You expect it.
Yeah.
But you make your promises are realistic, and from my experiences with them, right now I'm way above them. I know I'm going to come down.
Yeah.
But the point is that I think that's great, what you do, and just the fact that you have advertised that free content was great. So David's Daily and the shop bet, I would encourage anybody to try it. You don't have anything to lose. You're betting on other stuff that you don't know if a referee is going to rob you of it, for God's sakes. Try it. That's one thing. In boxing, there are two things that stand out to me. Well, there was a few. There was your 38-year-old rule article was great. Your article on the Jake Paul Tyson fight was great.
Yeah.
Your article on your all of that stuff is fantastic. The Southpaw stuff is great. And but the two things that I think are invaluable to boxing bettors that have enough acumen to look at them are you have your box, and I think it's listed as, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 50-50, your 50-50 one, right?
Yeah.
You go on that site, you're not saying who's going to win. You're giving the boxer, the guy, the bettor a choice. You're not saying fighter A is going to win, fighter B is going to win. What you're doing is you're breaking down what it comes out to computer-wise as far as this fighter. So there's one fighter that maybe the computer says it's going to score a knockout in under 8 rounds, and then every other result is above that. Wish those bets were available in America. They're not. I love it.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Because you can bet every other result, and here you can't. But I love that bet. If the flights weren't expensive, it's almost worth flying out there once in a while.
Well, so Johnny, I'm so glad you met. Thank you very much for saying that. But also that I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I absolutely love, as a concept of will the favorite win within these number of rounds or not? Yes or no? I love it. And it's not yet available to bet in the UK, but fingers crossed, there's a few conversations I'm having where it might be available soon. So yeah, I'm glad.
I think a place would be very foolish not to take that, because the one thing I will tell people is, if you guys are, for people that look at, and that's right on your site, just go to the website and look it up, the 50-50 one. In that one, if you have a fight and you think a fighter is going to score a knockout, or it's going to be a stoppage, or whatever you think, if they go over to that page, they could look at it. If they find that fight on there, they could see what the computer says. Now, if they're thinking, I don't know what round to bet this fighter in, they can look and see your fighter has their fighter to win in under 6 rounds.
Yeah.
Okay? Then it's their choice. If they already think the fighter's going to lose by knockout, then it's their choice. Do I want to take 6? Do I want to go a little higher, a little lower? But that gives you a computerized idea that's in agreement with the bettor. Exactly. And that's great for the bettor, because they could look at that and they could say, you know what? They're in agreement with me. I'll take a shot at this, or I'll go a couple of rounds higher. I'll take a little less money, or I'll go a couple of, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And if they're in disagreement with them, you're not saying this is the right bet. You're saying, or this is just what the computer said. Yeah. Love that. I love that.
A great example is Usyk Dubois in a couple of months. So at the moment, you'll get even money. In theory, you'll get even money about Usyk winning by the end of the 11th round,
right,
or not. So that's as simply it. It's like even money, both opportunities, 50% either side. Will Usyk beat Dubois within 11 rounds? Or you take Usyk in the 12th round, Usyk by decision, a draw, all the other results, Dubois. And that is the group. It's 2 bets, yes or no.
There's so much with that. And then you have the site that breaks down the odds. It shows the direction the odds are moving to see where the money's going as the fights get closer. And that one is called the odds checker, is it?
We call it the odds market, yeah.
The odds market. Yeah. And that odds market shows the odds of both fighters. and it builds up. It'll show you if who's getting support, who's not getting support, and it breaks it down, which I love, into what their actual percentages for them to win. So for people that just follow odds and don't know what that means in percentage wise, or don't know how to figure that, you could just look at that and you have it broken down. So if the odds on this are going up on this guy, they're going down on this guy. This guy has this percent chance to win. This guy has this percent chance to win. And I think that is also something to help guide people in their decision making, because a lot of people that bet like to see where money's going too.
So do you know what's so interesting about that page is that since it's been on the site for a year and a half, since we've been tracking the odds movements in the money line, about 65% of the time the favorite gets backed. So the favorite will start off at odds on and become even shorter. The people want to back the favorites. Now, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had that weekend of absolutely diabolical boxing, right? When all the 6 fights went the distance. It was the week after, and everyone was like, boxing, what the hell? All these Saudi fights were going the distance. Alvarez went the distance, Garcia.
Almost no punches all of those fights added up, didn't throw enough punches for one winner's fight.
Yeah, Garcia lost all of it.
Yeah,
so
it was crazy.
It was like the worst weekend in boxing history. And since then, historically 65% of the time the favorite gets backed, since that weekend, only 10% of favorites are getting backed. So the betting public, I don't know, it's a small sample, but the betting public have in a month have suddenly said, I'm opposing the favorite rather than supporting the favorite. So
it's very interesting.
And that's all. That's on that site, our site as well.
Yeah, one of the standout things to me was Serrano and Taylor, because the same thing happened with their last fight where the odds were like out of whack. I did want to say one thing about that, about the people that I work with. I know this. Boxing doesn't get an extraordinary amount of betting like other sports. It's just not as popular as boxing fans we all like to believe it is or want it to be. It's just not that popular. Betting, like you go to the casino, it's not a popular sport to bet. I have to go to the machine and look the things up and then go to the guy, but they don't have it like up or on their sheets,
right,
like with the other stuff. And one of the things is what they do when you see odds movement in some of those fights, it's impossible to detect. But one of the things that the wise guys do is they will spend, for instance, let's just take a fighter that is minus 150 and a fighter that's fighter A minus 150, fighter 2 plus 200. They'll get their people and they'll organize people to go in and make bets over like a 2 or 3 day period in Las Vegas. They'll have people do these bets that'll go in, and the bets will go in for let's just say $1 million. I mean, I'm not saying it's happening in this fight. I don't think it is. But what I am saying is what they'll do is they'll take, let's say they want the person they want to win is the favorite and they're minus 150. They'll go in there, they'll have their people put $1 million or whatever on the plus 200 one. And that is such a big bet that those odds will drop, but they'll do it over 3 or 4 days. Those odds will greatly drop. And then the odds on the one they want to bet, minus 150, goes up. And suddenly that's the underdog. And then they will try to get that as high as possible. They'll bet that with the $1 million. And what they wind up with is 2 good, solid plus bets, and they can't lose money on it.
Wow.
It's impossible for them to lose. And that's what they do. So a lot of people confuse major odds movement with that's inside money. It's going on the favorite. That means to back the favorite. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it's to get you off the scent of the long shot.
That's very interesting.
Same thing with horse racing. A lot of people wait until right before betting time, thinking that's when all the inside money's coming in.
Yeah.
It's true many times. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times they will want to get you off a long shot they're going to run. I've seen it many times.
Wow.
Where all of a sudden you'll see this one horse going down. He doesn't run in. He's not there at all. And everybody gets behind him and he goes off at like 3 to 5. And meanwhile, the horse that's 11 to 1 goes up to 16 to 1.
Yeah.
And that's the horse that they're hoping that comes in. So those odds movement that people think they are reading, they are often reading wrong. That's not my opinion. That's factual.
If that doesn't happen from time to time. That's brilliant for us as bettors to exploit those opportunities. Either
they're a little suspicious. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's so if there's a because if there's artificial movement like that, there's opportunities for us to exploit. But it's also, it seems to be happening now again in the third Serrano-Taylor rematch.
Yeah, I don't know what the story was with that, and if I'm correct, I believe Serrano started off as the favorite in that and went off as the underdog. I mean, I don't remember.
I think,
but I do remember it was a huge odds shift, and then it shifted back. A good
right. Okay. Yeah, I know. I think it was the other way. Yeah, I think she took. No, I think it was the other way around. Serrano in the second fight was the dog and ended up the massive favorite and then lost.
Okay, maybe I don't really remember, but the odds switch is the same as it was. Just it was a very huge odds switch, and I don't know. Again, I don't know how much these those guys, because I'm talking about guys I worked with years and years ago.
Yeah.
I still am in touch with a couple of people, and I get tips here and there and stuff. But the thing with this particular thing, I don't know what's going on with that. In boxing, I'm a little skeptical of being inside money when I see movement like that. Yeah. But sometimes a large, noticeable movement, everybody's noticing, and they're going to bet accordingly. Everybody's getting behind this. They're going to bet. A lot of times, it's just to get people off the scent. And you know what? In boxing, I don't think it takes. Well, it's a lot of money for people, but I don't think it takes $1 million to move those odds substantially.
Yeah, sure. Oh no, sure. I saw it on even the Dubois Usyk fight a few weeks ago. I was just watching prices just change, in front of my eyes. Okay, so last few questions, Johnny. What are sort of the most important books you would recommend to anyone who is watching this?
Well, for me, I just have a picture. I'm going to hold them up real fast.
Okay.
The horse racing books. If you follow Andrew Bayer on Speed is a classic.
Oh yeah, we know that one.
Okay. I know Chris knows that. Speed to Spare, which dives into the Bayer books. Thoroughbred Cycles, and
don't know that one. Okay.
That shows you like they run in predictable cycles. If they're on the up or down, they don't stay there very long. Particularly the claimers. The better horses do.
Okay.
The Skeptical Handicapper has a lot of data in it, actual like computer data and stuff, and it's very, very interesting. Modern Pace Handicapping by Tom Broheimer. It instructs people about pace and the pacing of a race. And if there's a lot of front runners, you may want a middle of the pack guy or maybe a closer who can do that. Betting Thoroughbreds. This is one of the classics. Betting Thoroughbreds. It's just got with loads of information. And this one for somebody just this is good for beginners and experienced bettors. It's Olmsted's Complete Handicapper. You'll see how big up it is.
Yeah,
but this book has, I think, for beginners, anybody, this will explain everything in very, very clear terms.
Right.
I would get this book first to get acquainted with the stuff. That last one, this one, Olmsted's Complete Handicapper.
Yeah.
If you can find it, because I'm going back, I got this book. It's like 30 or 40 years old.
Wow.
But everything still holds true. Those I would get that first to really understand horse racing, and then I'd look at those other ones, and whatever. And Chris put 2 books up there, and I was like, I don't have those 2 books. I never read them, and I wanted to get. And I was looking up, like trying to find prices, and that one of them is like almost $300 for the book. A used copy, yeah. So he's got 2 classics there. These are the same thing. You could get some of these, but they're expensive. If you go on thriftbooks.com, you could get some. For anybody that's interested in horse racing, I would look into that last book first.
Well, I'll see if I can get it cheaper in the UK. Maybe there's some sort of shipping to get it over to you guys. But yeah, tell me which one that is, and we'll try and find it.
Oh.
And okay, final question, Johnny. If I offered you 5-1 about the toss of a coin, heads or tails, you get one opportunity to bet 5-1 odds. Heads or tails, how much would you stake on that one bet?
Would it be me and you as my friend, or
very nice of you. No one else has asked that before. They just want to take my money. Good question. No, it's not me. It's a nameless casino. You don't care about them.
I wouldn't take the bet. I wouldn't take the bet in a nameless casino because it's a 50-50 bet. It's the proposition is 50-50. And so you got a 50% chance of winning, 50% chance of losing. Yes, $500 is nice if you want to bet 100. $5,000 is nice if you want to bet 1,000, but you're risking losing 1,000 or risking losing 100. I wouldn't take the loss. You know why? Because if it came from you, if we were in a pub, I'd say, yeah, put $20 on it. If I win, I'll pay for everything tonight. It's on the tab. I said, and that's it. If we were just hanging out. But if it was a random person, the first thing I would say to myself is, I wouldn't trust it. Why would somebody offer me those odds? Number one, 5-1. I just wouldn't trust it. And number two, I would know that if he's doing that, in the long run, he's going to be losing. So I wouldn't trust the person doing that. I wouldn't take the bet at all. I wouldn't even put $10 on it for to try to get 50. I wouldn't even do that.
That's very interesting.
I know it's just funny, but it's a 50-50 proposition. So that to me is the equivalent of a game of chance.
Okay, it's the lack of trust. Something's too good to be true.
Yeah.
It can't be true.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving me 5-1, and you're telling me it's an honest spin. Why would you do that?
Good. All right, good answer. Okay, Johnny. Look, that was brilliant. I love hearing some of those old stories about the background, how you got into this, the horse racing as well. We don't talk about it a lot. It's always boxing chat, so I think people will find that interesting as well. And
we can talk about that anytime. I love it. It's my first love. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're enjoying some of the soccer bets as well.
Oh yeah. I'm having a great. I'm trying to understand more about the sport. It's a very complicated. Even reading the results, sometimes I'll look up the result of a bet, and I haven't looked, and I'm looking at it. And I'm looking at it, going, I don't know. I'm looking at the thing. Just give me the score. Let me know if both teams scored or whatever. Yeah. But I love that. And I'm going to just tell people. I mean, there's nothing to lose. Go in there. Give it a couple of months. You're betting the money on other stuff. Give it a couple of months, and you're going to be happy. I mean, just my feeling.
It's kind of you to say so, and I hope.
I'm saying it honestly. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, you're not getting a backhander from us, but and I'm glad that it's working over there in Kentucky as well, which is good to know.
Yeah, I could pull the games up. I didn't think I could. I can't. Well, I'm on an overseas. I use an overseas account, but I can pull them up.
Brilliant. So, all right, Johnny. Look, that's an hour and a half. I am very late for another appointment, so I'm going to get in trouble now. But we better wrap it up.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure as always, my friend, and I look forward to the next chat. Thanks. Talk more about betting if you're interested, and or anything, horses, boxing, whatever.
Big Usyk fight.
Life. People will just hear us talking about life.
Yeah, how about that? All right, Johnny. Thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, John.
Have a good one.